actually a necessary thing to say we have to actually focus on women, because we could actually just let this whole thing happen naturally. Yeah?
The reality is we put it out so it would be impossible for us to put an RFP out and hope that all the right people apply, because there's too many suppliers playing in the same market a lot of the time that we can't make sure that the right people are applying to participate. So by connecting with these sort of forums and these networks, we are then ensuring that we are getting the diversity in to participate in these sort of events. It does happen by chance. I think I've actually done some work with Empire Events in PE, or one of the areas. Yes. Yeah. So it does happen by chance, and that wasn't through this connection. We didn't actively seek an LGBT supplier in that area. It just happened. So I don't think there's barriers against it. I don't think there's anybody saying, no, we can't have a woman, we can't have a disabled, we can't have X, Y, and Z. It's actually more about saying, how can we make sure they're there? How can we make sure we're getting to them? Because doing a quick Google search is not going to bring all the right guys together. It's about having the networks. So if I can then email the other foundation and say, this is what I need. Do you have anybody that you know of in your community that can participate in my RFP? It's as quick and simple as that for us.
Cool. I think just to add on to what my esteemed colleague is talking about here is the inflexibility of corporate is something that a lot of us here find in our day-to-day job in terms of getting the right service providers. And it's always easier when you have a third-party service provider who you're able to work with, who therefore then sources different people and able to pay them. Because when you work specifically with SMMEs, you have 60 days payment time. And you find that those people have to have, those companies, which are small to medium companies, have to have huge budgets to deliver an event or to do a certain project, and they will only get paid in 60 days from the date of invoice. Yeah. And that service has to already have taken place. So for us, it becomes an imperative, a very flexible element in terms of having that organization that you can trust, that you can work with, and therefore you can then get those suppliers under them and taking the D&I element of diversity and inclusive, the diversity and inclusive element, and really rolling it out to your suppliers and getting them to do it as well to their suppliers, and to also empower the smaller businesses underneath them. It's very imperative.
And I think just to add on that, sorry, we're bouncing in the back. Add on to that. Thanks for Daddy John. So to add to that, a lot of the time it's very hard for smaller businesses to compete on the same level as some of the experienced players. And we understand that, and we also understand that the cash flow is tough for small businesses. So that is definitely something that the corporates are hearing by connecting into these forums and connecting into these sort of networks. And what we are starting to do is, if there's no way that we can completely rely on a small business to handle the volumes that we need them to rely on, it would drown the business, quite literally. We ask that the bigger ones partner with the smaller businesses, and they have to give a percentage of the project to a smaller business. And during that whole interaction, there needs to be knowledge transfer, there needs to be a whole lot of activity that happens to be able to get the smaller business to a level that they can deal with the volumes that would be required of a large corporate.
Okay.
I just want to link there. I think one of the areas where small businesses have a competitive advantage is that you can very easily differentiate your value proposition and create certain niches. And very often when you deal with large suppliers, they can give you a good price, but it's sort of a very stock standard offering. And I do think strategic partnerships to really play in that niche space where you are flexible, you can customize, and you can really adapt to the needs of the organizations are really important, and is something that a lot of small companies, they have labors of love that they've turned into businesses. They don't always commercial sense to really understand how do I differentiate and change my value proposition. So I think there's great opportunity. It is going to require a bit of effort from the small corporates to create these networks, these partnerships, and reorganize, and also have the internal flexibility to scale and use technology and things to be more adaptable than some of the bigger players they compete with.
So you guys have been successful, obviously, in changing the field in terms of the professionals who work in the environment. You're going to get this wall, so clearly, things are going to happen. But how would we, as a network, work with you or your group to actually soften it for those who are outside, whether about bringing new young talent, but also small businesses getting in there? What kind of relationships would we need to create with the network itself for business? Because obviously you're not a business in your own business.
I think first, education, communication, and honest dialogue around really what the needs are is very important. And I think as small businesses, you really have to hold up the mirror to understand what you are really, really good at and where your deficiencies or skills gaps are, and really go on a journey of self-education. So organize, link into networks, understand where you're good, understand where you need to be partnered with. And I think the forums where the large corporates can really support us, we have skills, we have knowledge, we understand the frameworks in the markets, we understand how industries work, and we can really, I think it's a win-win situation where we share the knowledge and we have networks that self-associate with LGBT or allies and people who can, on a pro bono basis, participate in skills and knowledge sharing. So I think it's really a great collaboration of big organizations who have the access and the networks within limited time, but bring it to the small organizations and cross-hybridize and help you to take your businesses to the next levels.
I think